All right, everyone, welcome to the July 18th, 2024 Tinmouth Planning Commission meeting. I will call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone that's in person and on Zoom. Our first order of business is to review the agenda.
Can we add on what the select board would like? That we would like committees to come and present.
Oh, yeah, you want to,
So something for us to think about. I don't know if we want to have a short discussion towards the end, but what do we feel our purpose is? What is a win that we've had? And what are we struggling with or might need help with? Is what the select board is looking for.
From each committee.
Yeah,
To
from
come
each
forward.
committee to send a representative to. And hopefully email the answers to those 3 questions first, just so the select board has a chance to read it and possibly come up with some more questions before the meeting.
You say those.
What do we believe our purpose is?
Mhm,
What has been a win that we've had? And
mhm.
what are we struggling with, or do we need help, basically?
Okay, thank you.
okay. So we'll hit that after we do the somewhere down
Yeah.
lower, okay. Any other additions or deletions? Do we want to approve the minutes?
Nobody got them, so do you want me to read them, or do you wanna just,
Do we want to just hear them read to us and then approve them, or
you want them in paper and?
No, you could just- is everyone okay with just having them read to us and then we'll
Sure.
approve?
Yep.
Agree by consensus then?
All right, well, I'm told if I stand up, nobody sees my head, they see my boobies, so sitting down, sorry. This is being recorded, yes,
Yes.
I know. May 16th, 2024. There was no June meeting. Thank you to Planning Commission for letting the select board have that date. Members present in person: Michael Fowler, Vito Macaluso, Judy Gilmore, Andy Gilmore, Ann Lundquist, and Larry Caribou. Members present via Zoom: Bob Lloyd, Kim Harbaugh, and Pat Pasholka. Others present in person: Gail Fowler, and via Zoom, Sherry Johnson. Michael called the meeting to order at 7:01 and welcomed everyone. Members reviewed the agenda, removed the energy discussion, and added town plan update. Minutes of 4/18/24. Judy moved, Vito and Larry seconded to approve, all voted in favor. Members discussed results of the needs assessment survey. General agreement that it confirmed what the PC already knew. There were lots of questions regarding the demographic information supplied by the Regional Planning Commission. Need a definition of vacant housing unit. Secretary will pursue answers from the RRPC to clarify all the stats that are inside the front cover. It was noted that 60% wanted Tinmouth to stay rural. There was support for a general store. It was noted that it had been tried unsuccessfully several times. The best location would be on the East Road near the intersection with Route 140. Most of the traffic goes on one road or the other. Lack of access to Tinmouth Pond was discussed. There are several owners who will allow access if asked, and a prior vote of townspeople declined to purchase the pavilion to gain access. Affordable housing was also discussed. It's hard in a rural community as people have to drive everywhere. There's no bus service, etc. Town plan update. The secretary reported that Jennifer Truppel had volunteered to help with editing the update. Is currently reviewing work done by Ed Bow to determine what remains for the Planning Commission, in addition to the energy section. Jeremy from RRPC should be at the next meeting, waiting for grant and contract to be finalized. Ann reported on the Village Trust Initiative, reviewed some of the requirements. They could provide wraparound services, but may need a trust to undertake the project. Sponsors don't want a town to do it. They're looking to build community engagement. After brief discussion, Pat moved and Larry seconded to proceed with the intake form. Ann and Gail and the Friends of the Old Creamery will do this. All voted in favor. Next meeting is June 20th, 2024. Meeting adjourned at 7:54 PM. Respectfully submitted, Gail Fowler, Secretary.
Move we approve.
Okay. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Yes, indeed.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we've approved the minutes. So now shall we review the latest draft of the town plan update? And for those of you who did the due diligence,
Oh, I didn't look at that one.
It was a lot, so maybe you just want to take one or the other, the one that most people read.
do we want to reread the town? This does take quite a bit of time to read. Do we want to punt this for the August meeting
I
And-
would be in favor of that.
and focus on the enhanced energy section
Sounds like a great idea.
tonight? Bob,
Great
Pat,
idea.
Kim,
That's good.
yeah, sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay,
Now, who is here from the regional commission?
no one is here from the regional commission.
Huh, okay,
Jeremy, who's gonna be our helper, asked that the planning commission look at it first and come up with edits. And I'm supposed to give them to him, and then he will come back and meet with the planning commission maybe in August. So we don't have anybody to answer questions, it's just. It's a process he came up with, I'm not sure it's to my liking, but that's what they're doing right now.
right. Well, I have, in addition to spending some time in the hospital, I have spent some time reading this draft, the plan, and I am inclined to agree with Michael about hanging the whole argument on the word equity. I think it's a word not frequently used, and I'm not sure people understand it. I'm not sure I understand it, and I would suggest that we, wherever we can, prefer to talk about fairness rather than something with the word equity seems to have teeth in it.
I like that.
Well, we can discuss that some more, because like I said, we'll probably just review this tonight. And we'll probably have a conversation with Jeremy, but, yeah, no, the term equity does have,
It's in there, I've only read half of it, and it's in there a gazillion times.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it's,
been a lot.
the term
I don't see
equity.
Energy in there.
The term equity is a very loaded term in modern society, and you know, there's the word equity is used in many different, has more than one definition. So we need to be very clear, and here I'm not so sure that the definition that they're running with is the one that the town necessarily should be using. But we can get into that later. That's, so the full disclosure, I did not get a chance to read this. I was at a different meeting earlier today and I just kind of slacked off. This was given to me Sunday, last week, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
One thing I personally would like to see, if we're going to go forward with an energy plan in our town plan, is that we clearly state in there that any development that we allow in this town for energy is for the benefit of Timoth residents. It's not for the benefit of people in another state or another town or another community. It's for our benefit because it's impacting us.
Mhm.
So I don't
That's a
know
good
if
idea.
there's a couple different ways we can weave that in there, but that is something I hope the Timoth residents would back.
That might be, maybe something like that goes under goals.
Mhm.
You know, the goal of having something like this is to benefit the residents of Tinmouth.
There were a couple of places I tried weaving it in, but it definitely, yeah, probably other places we could weave it in as well.
Well, when we were talking about this earlier, it seemed like this was a template that didn't necessarily fit Tinmouth, the town of, and the residents of. So it seems like if this is something that we're doing in order to make sure that we have a legal standing, as you were talking about earlier, that it would just be very specifically about this place.
It's like they're trying to make a template for one size fits all,
Yeah,
and it doesn't work that way.
It felt like it was written for a much larger community than what
Mhm.
Timoth is, because under impacts of fuel use, or section 3 on page 1, it talks about the vast use of fossil fuel that this town does. You're trying to tell me that 600 people use a vast amount of fuel compared to Rutland or Burlington?
And I'm reading through this right now and I absolutely have, opposition to the Global Warming Solutions Act. That was not, that has so many problems for this state. We really should not be referencing that as a goal for, I mean, and we can have a discussion about like its merits, but that was something that the legislators like enacted without any real input from, towns. And it's language like this that is very troublesome when we are creating a document for our town.
Well, I don't know if anybody else notices, but there were quite a few things that they referenced in here, but they didn't spell out what it is. Like, I have no idea what EVSE is.
I was
Um,
definitely looking stuff up like. what?
So, and I didn't take the time to look
That's
it
for
up.
plugging in the cars. I had to look it up.
But it's like, you just spell it out,
Right.
dumb it down for the,
Is it
for
EV,
the,
electric
for
vehicle
people to
charging
understand it when
I
they're
think,
reading.
I guess it's, maybe I'm saying the wrong one, but I was looking up certain things in here.
Yeah, it says installed public EVSEs,
Service
near
station.
underserved community
charging
members.
Charge station, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what I think it had, was the charging stations.
What page is that on?
That's
Are
on
we,
page 4, under universal policies, action 2.
And often they're talking about make sure these things are near sidewalks and,
Mhm.
things that would.
Things that we don't have.
Yeah, right, so it makes it, when, the idea that this is gonna be protection for the town, if a lawyer were to challenge it, we just need to make sure that it's pretty tightened down. So that,
I would think that the process would be better if the guy from the regional commission came and talked to us.
Yes.
I mean, he has some,
yeah.
so you'd think he'd have some idea of where we're at. Before he says, well, take this and read this and let me know what you think, and then I'll come back, I'll change it and come back and.
And some of my opinions might be changed if he had included some of the figures too, but right now it's just,
Yeah.
Too generalized.
yeah.
This email says, they have to be double checked, but they're pretty close. No, I don't think they're pretty close.
Oh,
I think the whole sections that could just be crossed
Yeah.
out.
yeah, I'm just skimming through this. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize for not, but I'm looking at,
Read in the health section, they're saying that wood burning produces greenhouse gas emissions at levels much higher than natural gas and coal.
Yeah.
54% of Timoth heats by wood.
Mhm.
but our air is supposedly okay.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, we have excellent air quality.
there's so many things
That's
in
what
this
it
that
says.
contradicts each other that it's,
Well, I'm curious, is electricity considered a fuel? Because on page 2, they talk about imported fuels in the electricity section where we're importing it from Canada.
Right.
So is that considered a fuel or not?
Right. Yeah, right.
Some of it just had me scratching my head.
Yeah. Well, and when they're talking about, putting different kinds of water heaters and so forth that are more fuel efficient, I mean, in terms of the usage here, we should have more fuel efficient wood burning stoves. If there's a program for it, if, something that could burn at, I don't know, whatever the rate would be. So I'm just saying, if they're talking about getting the state involved with replacing parts.
the problem I noticed with going with a more fuel efficient wood stove.
Yeah.
Cause I bought one, cause my old one
And what happened?
got holes in it in the firebox, so thankfully the house is very drafty, so I didn't get, but I get a lot more,
No.
I get a lot more creosote bill, like a lot more, where my chimney actually plugged this winter. So I had to call somebody to come,
Because I have an older furnace than he does, wood furnace,
Right.
and I don't have the creosote problems he
but
does.
because it's a
Oh, so there's.
field furnace with a forced air that gives it air when it needs it, when the temperature, when you get a warmer winter like this, it just build up creosote.
And I have to
Okay,
leave a
so-
window cracked in my house
Well, that
for it to
doesn't
draw properly.
happen.
Actually, it's fine. And
Right, But, I mean, okay, so that's a good point. I was
Yeah.
just thinking, they're all about doing things that are burn more efficiently, but you're saying it doesn't work.
I mean,
Right.
it works, it keeps the house good and warm, but once it hits that temperature, it's only getting air when it needs it,
It just builds up.
it,
It's more dangerous.
yeah.
So, reading through the resilience paragraphs here, I would strike everything out of the resilient, like just get rid of it, the entire, because if we're going to talk about resilience, to me, for the town of Tinmouth, resilience would be a primary or secondary wood heating system in every home.
Mm.
And because what they're talking about is, these are just not
They're basically-
applicable.
Promoting to go 100% electric.
Which doesn't work if we have a power outage. Because
Exactly.
now, if we have a power outage and I don't have my propane stove or my wood heat or my gravity water, I now have to go find shelter somewhere else.
Yeah, it actually makes us less resilient, less,
Mm.
And they were also talking about during outages and peak energy costs, the sentence needs to be rewritten because I had to read it 3 times to make sure I was understanding what they were talking about. Personal vehicles will be used to power homes. How far in the future is this? Because I don't think electric cars have that capacity yet.
Mhm.
I would also like to strike the entire health section as well.
For 8 years, the town plan is for 8 years looking forward, so some of this stuff is more than 8 years out.
Yeah, if it's not till
Mhm.
2050, maybe we'll have that technology in 2050, but we aren't gonna have it in 2030, I don't think.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
taking issue with burning fuels has significant negative health impacts. Like
I laughed when I read that. one.
I mean, that's just, come on, like, let's be realistic here. This is,
Smells with my propane stove than I did when I had apartments with electric stoves.
Yeah.
Those things put off a
Mm.
smell.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe it was just because of previous use, but they put off a smell.
so we've jumped ahead, all right, so we've already gone through equity, impacts of fuel use, goals to a certain extent. And I think we're gonna have to severely either just not use this at all, or have something, maybe have him come in and we could specifically write down, if we were going to have a goals, like our goals are X and Y and not, these two paragraphs. I mean, we're,
627,000 gallons of fuel. Really? How many houses are here?
According to him, there's less than 400 residences and businesses in town.
Yeah, 354.
Well, and I mean, one of the ones I had was under universal targets, they talked about decreased total energy consumption by roughly 180% from current usage.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so, but if there's a push to have more people move to our town, is that based on our current population or our future population?
I think of that one too.
so, I mean, impacts,
Is it on the population that was used when they did the needs assessment, where they said that we had 773 people and we only have 573? Are they projecting? What numbers are they using? It's just.
and how does this have significant impacts on town equity, health, and resilience?
Hmm.
I mean, again, like, these are things that, they're kind of they're shoehorning concepts into our, into our energy guide that are not appropriate,
I
and
mean, I'd say, maybe they're calculating in the farms and that, but we don't burn. If we burn 5,000 gallons of fuel a year, that's a lot, probably.
well,
Yeah,
how many houses are there?
here it says 354. I'd have to look on the.
354 and 10 businesses.
Does anyone have a calculator real
Yeah.
I
quick?
didn't bring my.
I didn't bring my phone.
I do, I have 350. I have a calculator.
So just out of curiosity,
Cause I did calculate that if there were 354 homes and 10 businesses, on average, it's 11 cords of wood, cause I did do that math.
oh yeah, that's literally what I was about to ask, is 11 cords of wood.
Yeah.
So that makes the 4,000.
It's a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, like, this math is something that was made up. This is not, how do you, roughly 627,000, like, roughly means, did you ask all of the fuel deliver, like, where are these numbers coming from? Because, and this is the problem that we had at the last time we did this, is they're making numbers up, or it appears right now to me that you know, where did we get this number from? I
Mhm.
guess that's what where I go back to is, you know, can you specifically tell us what, you know, did you make it up? Did you find research? What was that research from? Or, you know, like, this is an important document for the town.
Mhm.
We should be accurate, or we should be trusting as much as possible. And if we're not trusting in these numbers, then it's not.
Yeah, because later on they talk about kilowatt usage, and since I was sitting at my desk and I had my electric bill handy. And granted, I use a lot less electricity than some people do. But even taking my highest month and multiplying that by 12. I use less than 2,700 kilowatts per year, and they have us at average of 7,026 kilowatts per year.
I did think people must have some big houses.
But we questioned that, and we
Yeah.
questioned that number in our existing plan.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that started us all on this tangent of like data, and where is the data coming from? Like, and again, like, where are we getting, like, what are we using this as? You know, is this factual? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from, you know, a Swedish firm that has decided, like, because they're taking a global average, and this is
Right.
which is not you know, like, that's not appropriate if we're
Mhm.
going to put it in a document.
So
Am I
does,
correct? I have a proposal, this ongoing proposal. This meeting is being recorded, right?
Oh, yeah.
So part of my proposal would be that this fellow listen to the recording of the entire meeting.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
We're just talking in the air here.
Right?
But if we could get the message through somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe we could listen.
Idea, Bob.
yeah, yeah.
I agree.
My question is you said it comes out about 11 cord a house? Now, what size cord are they talking about? A true cord, a face cord, a half cord? So people call a face cord a cord,
Yeah.
and they're all different sizes. I figure on average, I burn 7 to 8 cord in my house a winter.
But there's a lot of houses without any wood stoves,
Yeah.
that don't use wood.
Hmm.
I mean, that's
But
an
that means
average,
all the rest of you have to use more.
yeah.
Yeah.
How much did we put in my basement last year?
4.5.
Okay, so I used 4.5 and a tank of fuel.
I can go back through, and I know exactly how much fuel my house, and my house was built in the 80s, you know, basically, you know, so it has a certain amount of insulation. It's not a super insulated house, but you know, we can extrapolate how many houses, you know, that are, call that the average, you know, what the fuel consumption is, what is the wood consumption, and there's no way that we're gonna get to, you know, 627,000 gallons.
I
It's
was trying to
just,
figure that out, how much I'd be per house, but I'm not good doing that much without a calculator.
well, I mean,
Well, is this a situation where we could or should or not actually reach out to everybody? I mean, everybody would pretty much know what it's costing them or what they're using for, say, their electric and their heating. I mean, we all, in order to make it more specific, or is that too much
I mean,
labor and?
you could almost take probably a closer cross sampling, is what they're probably closer cross sampling, just from the members of this board than what they did, because we all, I would assume, have different sized houses and heat a little bit differently. It's, I mean, the only reason I use the oil is because there's nobody to fix the fires when I'm in the office. Yeah, on our collaboration days, so I can't leave the fire going that long.
Right,
My house will be cold when I get home.
Well,
But
Michael wants data, and I think it's gonna be a real task for us to collect real data that covers the whole town. And we maybe should talk about how to do that.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it, and I like the term real data, like
Mhm.
data that is, pertinent to our town's usage, and if this is the data for our town, like how can we cite that as, it comes from, the state pulled every, and I doubt very much that they pulled every energy, fuel truck delivery, itemized every resident in every town and drew up all of the usage, like that's, I don't see that happening, so where, what did they use to come up with these numbers? Because these are very large numbers and, and the wording in here is also, to me, is very, it is suspect, it definitely has a,
It's meant for a larger town.
well, it also has, it has it has policies that aren't necessarily beneficial to the state of Vermont. The idea that burning of the renewable resource of wood is a bad thing. Like I am absolutely pro wood stove. Outdoor furnaces. I think firewood is one of our greatest assets when it comes to heating and energy needs. And it's not an untapped resource, but it is a very underutilized resource. And here we're talking about how it's a dirty, it's bad for this and that. It's like we have been burning firewood safely since Benjamin Franklin made a stove.
How many of these people are from the city where trees grow slow and die after they get so big because the roots are
Too
Yeah.
compacted.
too compacted? I mean, I know people that came from other bigger cities and they said until they've been here for a few years, they didn't realize how fast trees grew out here.
Mm.
Well, we can't even keep up with the cutting around the fields. They just grow too fast on us.
And
Mm.
that's a lot of what we burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems like
How,
the first
how do we
question,
translate our complaints into suggestions about what to do? How to get a better data?
Well, I mean, so like transportation policies, the action is to provide public outreach and education on public transportation, walking and biking. I mean, those are recreational activities, like you're not going to walk and bike. Maybe there's a rare person that, is going to bike because they really, really don't want to drive a car, but that's not pertinent to Tinmouth. It's just not.
But if you are gonna go that route, do we also then need to teach people how to walk safely on a road and how to bike safely on a road? Because I've seen people not do either very well.
Yeah, and also drivers, how to watch out for bikers.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, Conrad Trusey, when he lived in town and he had his vet office down in Clarendon, he would ride his bicycle back and forth to work, but in 40 years, that's the only person that rides a bicycle to work, and you're not, most people work in Rutland, you're not gonna
Yeah.
expect people to ride. to
Yeah.
Rutland.
Especially in the middle of winter.
Mm.
They don't so well.
What a challenge.
Again, there's a lot of things that I don't think are good policies for Tinmouth or a lot of towns in Vermont. Like, I think that we really need to just strike a lot of, I mean, and if these are the boilerplates, for the enhanced energy plan, then I'm very skeptical about. I mean, I'm having problems justifying a lot of this stuff. Just because it's either impractical or these are the pie in the sky, aspirations of something that is just, it's not needed and it's not appropriate. And someone can disagree with me and, we can have that conversation, but I just,
So depending on what his reaction is, unless he comes up with something that's more pertinent to him, we might not want.
I wouldn't, I'm not
I wouldn't
comfortable.
put this in
I
there.
absolutely would not put it like, I'm looking for something that I can get behind, to say, in this draft, this is something that I would be comfortable putting in a document for our town. Every town is different you know, and Tinmouth is different. I mean, it is not Burlington, it is not Barry, it's not West Rutland.
And I feel like this has a very different flavor than our current energy plan, which talks about what we will and will not allow. This
Yeah.
is just all future planning.
I mean, I actually really like, Judy, I think we should start the enhanced energy section with your statement about, you know, any development towards is to be a benefit to Tinmouth residents.
And
You
the
know.
reason I say that is because we have two aunts, live in two different states, they have developments going on near them. Neither one is to that state's benefit, to
Mhm.
that local community's benefit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's all gonna get shipped elsewhere.
Somewhere else. And they get no
Yeah,
benefit
they
from the
don't get-
project.
It's not like it's going a little ways, it's going states away.
Mm.
It's like,
And it's crazy.
so maybe that is actually the starting point, like just reinforcing, like. If there is, you know, like when or if there's going to be some type of development like this, it needs to be for the towns, the residents or the town itself.
And then
Yeah.
any surplus can go elsewhere, but
Yeah,
the primary must come here
Mhm,
and
mhm.
support the people that it's going to be impacting the most.
isn't that kind of what Proctor did with their hydro dam?
Electricity was so cheap when I lived there, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Well, and then people could get behind it
Yeah.
because it's good for everybody,
Yeah.
you know, rather than
Mhm.
some.
And I'm thinking maybe that opening line could be what we judge the rest of this on.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is what we judge the rest of, you know, how, and that's probably where we should be starting at the very beginning.
Mhm.
You know, how does it benefit the residents of Tinmouth?
Right.
And everything falls under that, um. Everything falls under that to, you know, we judge to that line.
So can you ask if any members have found good things in here? that
Yeah,
they
no,
like?
I mean, has anyone found something that they like? I mean,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, I mean,
I like the idea of these solar lights that I think it was in here when I was reading last night. Where they have it's just a technology where they put the lights up through the roof. And so they could put four like this, catch the light from the ceiling, from the sun. And it just brings it right down by reflecting it into the room as if it's a lit light. And then they have a separate one that is collecting some of the electricity. And so when the nighttime comes, it just clicks over to the solar lamp. I didn't know about this, instead of just having like an open window or something, that this is really 24 hours a day, you could get lighting from it. I think it was called solar. Anyway.
I mean, the solar hot water collectors,
Yeah.
the heat pumps, was it the thermal fuel switching? No, I guess that's not it. I mean, some of those sounded good.
Yeah.
I don't wanna mandate stuff for a town when it should be an option, not a mandate.
Solar tube,
Point.
solar tube lighting. Yeah.
so I actually have some experience in solar tube.
And,
Well, they're really good spring, summer and fall, but they're
Yeah.
at an absolutely atrocious heat loss.
oh,
They do and they actually let you know, it is when they say tube, it is a
Tube,
shaft of
yeah.
light that goes down. So you end up putting lots of them in your camp and
Mhm.
if you don't have electricity, that does work. But they make the building very, very cold.
okay. Well, that defeats the whole purpose
We-
then, right?
I was actually working with a friend of mine. The client he wanted one, and I think we ended up with 7, and we ended up nicknaming him the Sun Tube King
Mm,
because he
lovely.
just wanted, because they worked, you know, they gave you sunlight, but you know, it was also a 3-season camp, so he didn't care.
In the winter,
Wintertime,
yeah,
yeah.
well, perfect for that period, yeah. But as you said, some of the technologies where you're storing the heat in
Mhm.
underground until winter and then you bring it back out, I'm like, okay, how does this work and what does that
Yeah.
cost, you know, so.
Well, that's what I had about the Marble Valley Transit thing too. I'm like, it sounds great, but how much is that gonna cost the town to try and get that up here for a few people maybe to use? Cause and I know they talk about it in here about, how we were raised and are trained and whatnot, but we're independent. We don't necessarily want to take the bus if we have a car because we have errands to run and when I lived in Montpelier, there was a bus option to take me up to National Life because I didn't live too far from the Capitol building, except for I would have to take the first bus in the morning. I'd still be late to work, and to take the last bus away from work, I'd have to leave work before my day ended. So it just didn't work for me. So I still had to drive my car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the limitations with public transportation is, or even carpooling to a certain extent, is you're dependent on somebody else. And sometimes you just need to go get groceries and go to the bank.
Yeah.
But if there are people in town who would want to do that, I mean, I suppose we could at least put it in the Tales or on Frenchport Forum as an idea, and they could create their own sign up or community for it, but then do we need a park and ride?
Well, we probably have to talk to Marble Valley Transit to find out.
Well,
If they have staff, I mean, at one point, they were running over to Castleton and back.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough riders to keep that going. Now,
Yeah.
Castleton's a lot bigger than in the
Mm.
colony
Mhm.
than.
But even if the carpooling, I mean, that can in some ways be a burden too.
So something that actually ties into the meeting that I was just at for the parents club, the parking in the school is absolutely atrocious. You get 50, sometimes 60 cars twice a day driving up to pick up children. And parents have, for years been, since the busing system changed, parents have been complaining about the lack of like actual busing. And that is one very small but very effective way for, if we're going to put something into an energy, an energy plan, coordinating or, somehow figuring out with the school supervisory union how to reinvigorate a bus route that actually drops children off at their houses,
Mhm.
as opposed to having parents, I mean, it is.
If you want to save energy, you don't have 30 or 40 cars.
Exactly.
2 or 3 times a day.
It.
There is a bus that goes around, but not many people ride on the bus, so they need to figure out, I think, why the kids are not riding on the bus.
Is that an optional thing? So the bus is available, but
The bus
people-
doesn't have very
The
many
bus stays-
stops,
The bus stays on the main roads usually.
and there's a lot of families that live on dirt roads.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
like, I mean,
so
you
you have
need
to
to
bring
have,
them down and stand in the.
And
you know,
some
you're,
of it might be timing too, because when
Yes,
we
it is.
were in school, it took an hour from when school got off to when we finally made it home. It's a half-hour trip if you just drive it straight.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
That was from Mill River.
yeah.
So that could be one of the goals is.
That
to
could be a goal.
encourage the school district to.
yeah, no, well,
eliminate all these cars coming.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like come up with something to work with here, something that is pertinent
Mhm.
to the town, like what are our concerns? Because this document does not really factor in any, I mean, I don't know, to me, it doesn't factor in almost anyone in the town.
Well, and some of the stuff they were proposing that the town do, like the EV plow truck and other stuff, I'm like, do they understand how cost prohibitive that is for a town our size? Those are not cheap.
No,
And it's easy to fill it up with fuel to keep going out, but if you have to charge it
Yeah.
before they can go out,
Right.
that's not ideal in a storm.
well, it's like, the action here, the action is to investigate and purchase EVs for municipal and police departments. So we're not gonna get our dump trucks to be electric. That's just impractical.
Mm.
That
You
is,
could buy the town clerk an electric car, I'd drive it.
done.
But wait, that's not one of my Bettys, I don't get it. to drive.
but
But that was another thing I noticed in here too, is they made the leap from fuel powered vehicles to electric, and they didn't stop anywhere at all on hybrid, other than hybrid
Well, this is,
slash
They don't
electric.
want hybrids.
this
They
is
want-
100% of town government electric demand for locally produced renewable resources. Like, this is stupid. And I don't use that term lightly. I really don't, like, that, like, we should not be having to criticize these documents or as hard as we are tonight.
Well, because when I read that part, I'm like, well, does that mean we're gonna take our property down behind the garage and turn that into a solar field just to provide power to the town buildings? If that's really what they want?
Don't
That's
use
what-
that much electricity.
Yeah,
The
we just,
electric bill might be $125 a month for the two building, the two
Mhm.
town garages in here, so.
Well, I didn't know
More
if
in the wintertime, but
that would lump in the fire department and the school, because those are, I mean,
They
the
want
town
all,
fire department is its own thing, but it does support the town, and the town does own the school, so.
but again, are we gonna spend
they have,
$100,000 on
here,
a,
implement weatherization activities at the town police station, town hall, fire and water district. So I mean, that would fall under that.
Mhm.
and so here's a slightly different idea. What if we did that, but we had standalone like electric generation for the municipal buildings? So the town buildings were generating their own electricity and using their own electricity. I mean, off grid, like that to me makes a tremendous amount of sense as opposed to, but it's not I mean, it's
Mhm.
like electricity is cheap, like like we get it from the waterfall.
it is now. Wait until everything's electric.
Yeah,
Everything's not going to go like it's,
It's not gonna be cheap. When they're the only fuel source around, they can charge whatever they want. Nothing's
So-
gonna stop them.
so if we have our own electric generation capacity, the better off the town would be. Because we have already paid for our electric power plant. Whether it be a solar power plant or a water power plant or a wood burning power plant that produces electricity through steam for our municipal buildings. I mean,
No, if you're gonna do steam, then it almost seems we could pipe that up here to do heating too,
I mean,
assuming it's still down there.
it could be up here. We could convert the old creamery to have to our steam power plant.
Next time. Yeah.
Next old creamery committee.
Well, we were, that's an aside, but we were passed over for the grant for the old creamery.
Okay.
They said reapply another time. But if you were actually wanted to use it for something along those lines, then we would have a very clear cut idea. Anyway, back to the story here.
So I like Bob's idea of having Jeremy.
Mhm.
Watch this, yeah.
I will send him my marked up copy.
Yep.
That says.
Yep.
Start over, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Great. Yep.
Start over with, and have the idea about what Judy said at the very beginning, like, everything should be seen through the lens of how does this benefit Tinmouth residents? Not how
Right.
does this affect the global whatever or the state whatever, how does this benefit Tinmouth residents? And just bring it there first and then.
Then
work
we can
through
look
it.
outward.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a great idea.
Did we keep this first enough?
No, I don't want.
I think we've beat it enough.
All right, so we're gonna read the latest draft for the town plan update for the next meeting. Village Trust Initiative, we actually just discussed.
Unless you want to add something specific to that.
No, they had 80 some odd applications and they were only gonna do 3 or 4, I think, this year and 3 or 4 next year or something, so.
So we were.
It was a long shot. But Tinmouth already has a lot of what they're hoping to build in other communities, so. We have a lot of what they want other communities to do. Which is a good thing.
But if there's something that, I mean, I know you're just saying the Old Creamery, but if there is something that comes up, they would encourage us to reapply for future grants if we were interested at all, which.
Mhm.
And they said they were gonna help us try to find other sources of stuff, but we'll see what that amounts to.
Mhm, yeah.
Other than giving us links of other places we can put.
So
Um,
under the benefit of Timoth residents, how about if we go through this and just strike out what is not?
Right.
I think we could, or we could just tell Jeremy to do that.
yeah, no,
He has some
Okay.
land, write something for us, and he needs to write what we want.
I'm
Right.
having a difficult time seeing anything that's a benefit to Tinmouth residents. But that's my perspective. That's Jeremy might be able to, he might say that this all is, for the benefit of Tinmouth residents.
Well, all electric, I don't think
I-
so.
I-
Well,
The only
then,
people that's benefiting is people who are investing in it.
mm,
well,
Are
I
you
mean,
okay, Bob? You okay?
yeah, I think he's muted.
I'm just.
Um,
Okay,
If you, when we get to the thing about the committees, if you want me just to read that, or if you want to read it. I have
Okay.
it here.
I think we're ready for that now.
Okay,
So moving on, so the Village Trust Initiative, we'll table that for a next year if we wanna turn the old creamery into a steam power plant, we can at least come up with that.
mhm,
And so the select board is tasking all groups with,
the
Questions?
select board is endeavoring to better understand what various committees, boards, and groups are doing in town and to establish better communications. The select board would like to begin this process by meeting with each of you. Please have someone from your group prepared to speak virtually or in person at a select board meeting. The speaker can be the chair or whomever the group elects to send. Ideally, an email will be sent to the town clerk prior to the select board meeting answering the following. What is the purpose of the group as the commission, committee, or board understands it? How has this purpose been met in the last year? What are your wins? What issues, if any, are the group struggling with? How might the select board help? At the select board meeting, assuming the requested email addressing the 3 points above were received prior to the select board meeting, the select board will follow up with any questions or comments. If an email was not received, the group representative should plan to go over the 3 points listed above. And planning commission is going to be the first one in August, so,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
And ye old select board assistant was supposed to have sent this out already, and I totally expressed it, so. Maybe we can discuss it a little bit tonight and. The select board meeting is on August. 8th.
7th?
is that supposed,
No, yeah.
sorry, is that supposed to come from each member of the planning commission or as a whole?
No, my idea at least, hopefully the other two had the same idea, was that it would be sent, which is actually good, it was delayed a month, sent to the committee and they could actually talk about it internally and figure out who they want to send, if they don't want to send the chair, and hopefully come up with answers to the 3 questions,
Okay,
not just one person, but
Okay, that sounds.
well, I mean, the planning commission, to the first question, the planning commission originally back in 1976 was charged with coming up with zoning regulations,
Town plan was first.
town plan.
It's by statute. The purpose of the planning commission is actually in statute.
Right, okay, I mean, that's the first question.
mhm.
And somebody jump in, if I'm talking overly much, but. Over the last year, we have successfully navigated through multiple subdivisions. Per tasked by our statutory obligations. It's successfully, I mean, we haven't had anyone contest anything going, and we have we're working through the town plan. Currently, we are working through the town plan. And I would say that the thing that is probably giving us the most discussion would be the enhanced energy plan at the tail end of that. This is the tail end of, everything, getting everything ready to go for the readoption of our town plan. And this is a sticking point that we are chewing through, which is not a horrible thing. It's just we're having issues with what the state is saying, is basically us in a nutshell. Or if someone else wants to say, and that's answering the 3 questions, right?
Mhm. I mean, if everybody agrees, that's kind of my basic understanding of the purpose of the planning commission, but yeah, we're just, as a select board member, we're just looking for feedback and,
Mhm.
ensuring people are still following the initial purpose of their committee or group or whatnot as they understand it. But if anybody else has input, please don't keep quiet.
So here's a good segue to thank Bob for his decades of planning for Tinmouth.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the amount of maps that Bob has made for this town. And that really, like, when you're looking at a map, like, because visually, like, if you can visualize it, like, it has been
Mhm.
invaluable. And it is, his work is all throughout this. He has been on the board for 30 some odd years.
I'd have to look it up.
He's the longest running member on the board right
Mhm.
now, so.
Those maps are just amazing.
Yep,
I mean,
very useful.
Yeah. Especially as a relative newcomer to see all of the difference. Thank you for doing amazing work.
My pleasure.
We're glad you're so talented.
And willing.
I would actually suggest, if any members of the planning commission wanted to go to the select board meeting, it wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt
More
to
than
have,
one is welcome.
yeah, I mean, everyone can show up and, they can, I'm basically, I'm gonna say the same thing that I just, said earlier. I think that's in keeping with what we're doing, unless someone wants to say something else.
And the meeting is on August 8th.
Mhm.
And it's just fun to go to select board meetings. I mean, it's a good,
Some of them are shorter than others.
um,
And you can attend via Zoom.
Yep.
Mhm.
But
But you're
we-
gonna go, I'm sorry, you're gonna go in.
I'm
person.
always there, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but we
okay.
welcome you in person too.
it's good to go. It's good to go, and you could get you can watch. You can watch the 3 select board members like grapple with, stuff that's, it's a little boring, but
I
it's,
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's fun in person. Like, it's more fun in person.
More fun in person. Okay. In-
Like a sports game, those are always more fun in person too.
True.
It's amazing. It's great.
Yeah.
It's wild. But all right, so that's everything that I have on the agenda for tonight. Our next meeting is August 15th. We will have reread our draft, our final,
Yeah.
not our final draft, but the draft of the town plan, where the things that were added or deleted were added and deleted, and we can go through and make sure that that's correct.
There's a few things in there I think that we still need to come up with. I mean, we, meaning probably me, stuff for the school, and because we asked the school for things, and there's other stuff from the listers that I was supposed to do. And you'll also probably be having a subdivision application for Jerry Parker and Carol Baker.
Okay.
It was supposed to happen tonight, but the surveyor didn't get it together in time, so.
Where did we fall on the pictures in the town plan? Cause I did open it real quick earlier and the Timoth Fun Day picture is from 2001. I thought some of those maybe we should
I think-
update a little bit more
Right.
recently.
So just go through and say, this one's done,
Okay.
this one's done, and who's got more pictures?
Ask someone from that organized the fun day. If they have pictures
Mhm.
and if they would submit some to us.
Well, and the Conservation Commission has a lot of pictures from the photo contest, some of those
Oh, yes.
pictures.
Mhm.
Beautiful,
Okay.
yeah.
I've still got the picture up behind Gettles, kind of looking out over the, on the snowmobile. Figured I'd throw that one in there.
Other than that, unless anyone wants to talk about fossil
do you
fuels
want-
or,
Jeremy to come to August, how much stuff you want to do in August?
Take
no,
him to September.
Ask
'Cause-
him to come to September.
because this is gonna take up a half an hour or 45 minutes or better. And then the subdivision will probably take up a half an hour pretty easily.
So the electric is going to be part of this Tinmouth plan or? is it-
Potentially, so
We have to have an energy section there.
Okay,
Currently, we have a 30-page energy section.
Yeah.
That we added in 2020.
okay,
Before that, we had a much shorter one. So the first guy we were working with the regional commission said, just go back and use your first one. But we added the one in 2020, hoping that we would get
The enhanced one.
enhanced, something or other from the public service.
it gives us
So, but it hasn't actually been tested yet, whether having an EEP makes any difference with PUC, the Public Utilities Commission. But that's
Thanks.
why we added that 30-page thing. And it is part of the town plan. It's not a standalone plan, it's part of the town plan.
And this document is the latest iteration of what the state is in their pie in the sky, like, and I should say pie in the sky, but and again, it just doesn't, it's not pertinent to Tinmouth. But this is what they're looking for, and, if these numbers aren't right, and, these concepts aren't necessarily beneficial to the town, like, why are we implementing them or pretending to implement them in our town if,
Right.
you know,
If they're not gonna be used. I
and,
mean,
yeah,
part of what the planning commission does is it creates a town plan. And then it creates zoning regulations and subdivision regulations, encourages the select board to take other steps to enforce what's in the town plan. It's not just a plan that sits on the shelf.
Right.
You're supposed to be making, when you go through, you say, oh, we did that, we can cross that off. Maybe we put something else in. I think, for instance, at one point, we said we should have a village designation, village center designation. Well, now we have one,
Right.
so if we have that in the town plan, we can say, yep, we did that in such and such a year.
thanks.
I think, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, it's kind of like a future to-do list and a record of what has been done.
Oh, yeah,
And
Right.
these are in between, these are our guidelines of what we are currently doing.
and,
And it gets updated every 8 years, so, if you get something not quite right, 8 years from
Yeah,
now,
they-
that didn't work, let's try this.
yeah, and that's if it doesn't work, if it doesn't seem like it's feasible, I mean, in 10 years, it takes about 10 years to make a nuclear power plant. And there's nothing in here about nuclear whatsoever, and which, if we're gonna talk about clean, safe, efficient, energy,
We
like,
didn't talk about wind either.
well, that's because it's not clean, safe, or efficient. It's not.
Renewable source too.
Well, I think we kind of made it pretty plain that we don't want energy, or we don't want windmills over
Windmills.
mountaintops.
nuclear power plant not be good in the creamery for sure.
Maybe a
Little
little,
small.
a little. They make them for submarines, right? I mean, there's gotta be some
You got a point.
technology.
Maybe they'll have fusion by then and electricity
Yeah.
will be a moot point.
All right, well, with that, I will, end the meeting. I think we've discussed everything we're gonna discuss. See
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Night.
Either guys see you on the 8th or on the 14th. 15th. 15th.
Okay. I just wanted to say, are we off?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say, I went to a small